Hey everyone, it's Evan Kirstel with another great discussion around the future of work. We're going to talk to some amazing experts and insiders in the industry. What we'll start with Rich, one of my favorites from IT Expo, TMC, a retired now investment banker. I don't know, Rich, who are you? What are you these days? I always lose track.
So, for the purposes of this conference and for this presentation, I am the chairman of IT Expo. It's an event now that we will be holding our 40th IT Expo, February 14th through 17th in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And part of IT Expo is actually something called the Tech Super Show, which has become bigger than the actual IT Expo. And Tech Super Show is a group of leading edge important conferences that are kind of tied into IT Expo that historically was a communications and technology event. And now the Tech Super Show has become an umbrella for some of the coolest, most interesting, important business to business technologies that are out there.
I love it. I love the breadth of topics from, cloud to cybersecurity, IoT, AI. There's almost nothing you don't touch on at IT Expo, so it should be a fantastic event next month. Wow, I can't believe how time is flying. And so we're going to talk about a specific topic around the future of work. So we have a great analyst and industry guru, John Arnold of John Arnold Associates. John, how are you?
All right, so John's link seems kind of slow there.
It's Canadian broadband. I think it's they need faster
It's
broadband in
colder
Canada.
up there, as you know, and it slows the
the,
waves.
the ADSL freezes. Well, we have another great guest, Eric Klein, CEO of CloudOnyx, a
Hey,
company who
Evan,
we
before
and
I'm going to just jump in real quick. I want to give a quick overview. John Arnold is going to be the chairman, or is the chairman of our Future of Work Expo, which is co-located with IT Expo as part of the Tech Super Show, and then Eric is in charge of the Enterprise Metaverse event, which is brand new. So I just wanted to give that overview, which I didn't do in the beginning. So with that, please take it away.
Yeah. So Eric, CEO of CloudOnyx, maybe introduce yourself, Eric. Where are you, and who is CloudOnyx?
Actually, this works out to be a 3-country live case because we've got the New York area for US, we've got Toronto, and I'm just outside of Tel Aviv in Israel right now.
Oh, okay.
So it makes for a much more international concept. IT Expo has always been a very international show. It's the best chance I usually get to meet with some of my colleagues who are located around the world because we kind of all cluster at the event, which is always a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's a tremendous draw from not just Israel, the Middle East, Europe, but South America, Central America, Mexico,
Asia,
and beyond.
India.
Yeah, it really is a global event. So let's start on the topic of the metaverse, Eric. I'm hoping you have a few thoughts on this. Maybe start with some definitions, Eric. How do you describe the metaverse, the environment these days? What is it for the folks who may be wondering why we're talking about meta? Well, it's more than that, right?
I'll start with what metaverse isn't to me. And it's a very common overlap. People tend to associate metaverse as being only blockchain, NFTs, crypto kind of things. And yes, those are part of the metaverse, but the metaverse is kind of the way it was described in Snow Crash 40 years ago, where we basically have this immersive environment that enables us to interact as our own personal avatars, kind of like what we saw in movies like Ready Player One or The Matrix or things like that, where we're actually using the computers. We went from analog communications to video communications and voice. Now we're going to go to full immersive. So you can actually see the people, where it kind of overlaps with this whole future of work concept. There's a lot of possibilities of, can we do conference calls or customer meetings without having to fly around, where we're actually in a metaverse conference room, seeing each other, shaking hands, and interacting directly. So this is kind of where I see the metaverse going. The problem is, like all tech, there isn't the metaverse. There's turning out to be multiple metaverses. Facebook has one. Microsoft has one. There are probably about a half a dozen key players in creating these spaces now and building them in, building the interoperability, enabling enterprises to gain value from them, and enabling the kind of future of work both in the office and remotely is kind of where I see a lot of advantages and a lot of potential coming out.
Yeah, it's an exciting time, but we have to stress early days for B2B or work related stuff. John might be back. Can you hear me, John? Ground control to Major John. It's funny, John's in Toronto and Tel Aviv is not as far. So go figure, the internet. But I'd be interested, Rich, what do you think? I mean, there's opportunities. But it seems with the metaverse, there's so many limitations and challenges today, whether it's, the kind of devices we use to access the metaverse through to, the state of the art of in technology. What do you see? I mean, is this a 5-10 year kind of time horizon?
I think that, part of it has to do with what we are as a society are ready to adjust to. One of the things I really like about metaverse, and there's so many definitions of it, but one of the definitions I really like is being able to put a headset on of some kind of gear on your face, then can simulate multiple monitors, maybe 5, 6, 7 monitors, large 4K monitors, where I'm able to work even more effectively, where I'm able to scroll around and, I can look up and I can maybe see news in the top left, and I can see maybe sports in the top middle, the Olympics or whatever. And then on the right, I could see something else. And then, and I'm looking straight ahead, I can see my three work screens, and all of this is done with a headset without actual physical monitors being needed, and being able to go on an airplane or go on a trip and have access to that kind of screen real estate. To me, if we define that as metaverse, which I do, I think that's an application of enterprise metaverse. I think that's phenomenal. I also think we've already seen augmented reality headsets being used for training and for things like that. But I think the future of training is also going to be augmented by this this metaverse type technology, where we'll be able to quickly learn, get up to speed on whatever it is, from medicine, from surgery to mechanical work. So to me, those are two really big areas of enterprise metaverse that get me excited for the future. So
excited for the future, but not so much excited for the present. And Eric, it sounds like we need a unicorn device. Like we need our Apple Glass. We need something that we can leverage to get into the metaverse. What are you seeing on the horizon? Is it going to be that Apple, headset that's going to kind of boost this whole space?
I would have to disagree that it's far in the future. In 2022, more than $1 billion was spent by enterprises on real estate activities, sales activities, from Nike to Chase Manhattan. All sorts of things were going on in the metaverse. Lots of money is going there and building virtual stores, real estate. So there's a lot of enterprise activity there. A lot of it is targeting consumer activities, which is where the goggles and things that you're referring to come in. Occultus and some of these came out for the last couple of years and have been really useful. Whether or not the new Meta glasses or Google glasses become the best way in, that's still very hard to tell. It's going to be a lot of different hardware, and people are doing it today. Even virtually through their web browsers, they're using the metaverse. So I don't think that we're that far off from it being a really useful technology. The craziest one I've seen so far is Google has set up I'll call it a booth, where they literally have 2 rooms that are booths that make you feel like you're physically in the same room, regardless of the distance, because the way the 3D cameras are set up and everything. And there's no goggles. It's just a big screen TV in front of you that makes it really immersive. And this seems to be the way things are going.
Yeah, going for sure. And maybe our friend John from Canada, from the Great North, is on again via satellite or something, but maybe not. This is fun. He's my little Canadian friend there.
I can step in for him if needed too.
Yeah. So
Rich,
Rich,
gonna have to.
you see a
You
lot of
scared him away.
industrial. You see a lot of industrial applications, Rich. I mean, manufacturing and healthcare. I've seen, HoloLens in operating theaters. I see them in, manufacturing lines. I mean, this is real. So in that sense, there is a metaverse use case in the industrial healthcare segment, right?
Yeah, and that's why we consciously call this enterprise metaverse, because it's different. We're not trying to be a consumer show. I mean, IT Expo has pretty much always been a business technology event, and we want to focus on the business use cases. And we think that those areas are going to continue to see growth because there's an ROI that you can get from, you can see the amount of training time being reduced. You can see the expertise level being increased. So I think that it's a good niche. It's going to continue to grow for a number of years. And there are, within that niche, there are these subsets. Like, I really like the monitor, the virtual monitors. I don't know how popular that would be, but I could tell you that in a scenario where you're in right now, Evan, I mean, you've got multiple monitors in your house, most likely, or wherever you're working. But when you come to a business trip right now, you're going to have your smaller monitor on your laptop. What if you could put on a pair of, just a pair of goggles and see 6 monitors or 3 monitors or whatever it is, better than your laptop, and not have to really have a lot of weight associated with it? Is that something you do and you'd use? And the answer is probably yes. Would you take it on an airplane if you could? Yes, probably you would. So, I mean, those to me are just baseline areas of growth. And then part of this ties into the future of work as well, which is what John is in charge of. He's the chairman for the Future of Work Expo, part of the Tech Super Show. And I think one of the interesting things there is we've seen this evolution and then a revolution of the future of work, right? We shut down everything a couple of years ago with COVID. And even though IT Expo really started talking about working from home and using IP communications to work from home back in 1998, 99, when we started, we didn't realize that there would be a catalyzing event like a pandemic that would force the world, hundreds of millions of people simultaneously to go work from home. And so now, we're in this world. I like to call it almost a hybrid work world. So the future of work is a hybrid world where you're part-time, working from home, part-time working from wherever, and then part-time working in an office. And, we see news stories where different companies are forcing people to come back to the office 3 days a week, 2 days a week. I mean, in my opinion, that's less important than the fact that regardless of where you are, whether you're, some people are staying literally at an Airbnb every month, working remotely now because they realize they don't have to be in an office. That's their life now, a nomadic life. But wherever you are, the goal of the Future of Work Expo, and now to some degree, Enterprise Metaverse Expo, they're kind of merging together, is to keep your workers as productive as they can be, regardless of where they are. And that's ultimately, we have a productivity challenge in this country. Productivity did take a hit after COVID. And one of the things we can do to improve productivity is to use technology to optimize every moment that we're working to maximize our output, and hopefully that would have a positive effect on the economy. It's a way to increase wages, which you kind of need to do to offset inflation, the pain that a lot of people are going through. It's obviously this push-pull of inflation and wage growth, but you want to be able to make people more productive so that they can justify higher wages and subsequently be better off than they were last year, and continuously get better. And as workers produce more, their companies do better, they do better. And it's a win-win. And again, it's technology is enabling this. And whether we call it the future of work or it's hybrid work or, whatever it is, or enterprise metaverse, it all kind of merges together, and it makes us better at our jobs and makes our companies more productive. And it's an important reason why every company should consider coming to the IT Expo Tech Super Show, February 14th through 17th in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
It's
I'll
actually
be there.
more than,
Yeah, Eric, tell us
it's
about
slightly
your
more than
event.
what you're saying, Rich.
Good.
Because there's been such a problem with hiring appropriate tech talent, getting the people you need locally, that it's become a global market. this future of work, with or without adding the metaverse in immediately, enables you to bring in people. I mean, we're looking at hiring people out of Uruguay, out of Romania, out of all sorts of places that in the past would never have been an option because everybody assumed you have to have people in the same physical office. So this whole concept of future of work, hybrid or remote, is really enabling a lot of tech. A lot of companies can get better talent at a lower price than they used to be able to. And it's improving the quality of life, which is the main reason people keep citing as why they leave companies. I don't want to do an hour commute each way. I don't want to spend all of my life. It's like, great. Walk in at 9 o'clock, put on your headset, start working, and you're in the environment, even if you're physically somewhere else. And you can literally mimic the being inside the same office space, even if people are just not interacting, but their avatars are sitting there back to back working, and they can turn and ask questions as if they were in the same space, regardless of what country they're in.
Yeah, it's super exciting. Unless you're in Canada where they don't have broadband. but we're painting a picture that is very exciting and I think is very real. But let's talk about some of the challenges, right? I mean, Rich, you're a cybersecurity industry insider. We've got security concerns, privacy concerns, state actors hacking into enterprises these days, and this is going to affect not just our work life, but the metaverse and all its incarnations. Is this going to a major roadblock that we can kind of overcome, or what say you?
It is a major roadblock, and we are overcoming it. But I think cybersecurity in general is a challenge. It's a something we're always dealing with, and people working from home are just making it more difficult in terms of having to ensure that the device that they're on is not already hacked. Maybe it's being shared within the family, and there's some malware on it, a keystroke logger or something like that, which allows a malicious person to get a hold of passwords and usernames, things like that. So yeah, it makes it more challenging, which is why cybersecurity is a big focus of this event. There'll be a number of cybersecurity vendors at the show, which will help keep the endpoints protected. There are tools that will help scan infrastructure to make sure that it is safe, anomaly detection, security operations centers that allow you to have 24/7 monitoring of your environment, so that if all of a sudden there's a large amount of data being shipped out of your company and going to some remote part of the world that you normally don't have traffic going to, such as, let's say, Eastern Europe, all of a sudden, a massive spike that can be shut down and can be analyzed in real time, as opposed to having to wait to the next day when all the damage has been done. So, I mean, you just have to keep fighting the good fight to try to stay one step ahead of the hackers. And to be honest, I think, and we talked about this on the last video, Evan, I get these ring alerts on my phone, basically that, there's someone in the neighborhood who's checking doors that are open, right? Going door to door to see which doors are open. And that's the door car door, and they're going to go in that car and they're going to steal whatever's in there or the car. And that's why, you lock your car door. And if you forget to lock your car door, you're at risk. And it's the same thing with your company. You've got to keep the company locked. And that means ever evolving vigilance on the cybersecurity landscape. And if you're vigilant, then what happens is you are the locked door, and the hacker goes to the next target that unfortunately may have not updated their computers, or they may not have the latest malware, or they maybe not, or malware protection, or they're not running any kind of antivirus. So it's just a matter of trying to be the safest company on the block, and that's all you can do.
Again,
absolutely.
There's slightly more. You're talking about the cybersecurity. People tend to ignore the telecom security. A lot of companies during COVID got nailed with huge fines. A lot of the security companies in the US and some in Europe, because they were having work from home employees using their personal devices or home phones to call customers, going against all of the security and recording and privacy requirements. There were billions in dollars of fines in 2021 alone just for that. So being sure that you have the proper security, both on your telecom systems as well as all of your computer systems, VLANs, cloud systems and stuff, people tend to ignore that one thing, the telephone, and it's turning out to be a really big problem.
Great
And
point.
the hackers have been playing that game for, well, I've been presenting at IT Expo now for 12 years on the topic of people hacking phone systems. And it's one of the areas that people tend to ignore in security, that as we move into the work from anywhere, remote work, future of work concepts, can't be ignored.
Yeah, there are many multitude of issues, legal, regulatory issues that have yet to be worked through. Taxation, where you live, where you're taxed, state to state, and even the societal implications, inequalities of, countrywide. I mean, you're in Israel, a very high tech country. We're in the U.S. What about countries who, gonna get left behind from broadband, from satellite high speed access, from education.
Like
I
Canada.
mean, like Canada, our friends to the north. But let's talk about IT Expo. Final note: tell us about the Metaverse Expo. What sort of folks are presenting? What can we see there? And
Okay.
what are the opportunities for folks to attend?
The Metaverse Expo is the Tuesday and Wednesday of IT Expo.
Mm-hmm.
So we have 9 speakers presenting everything from ethics of using the metaverse. One topic that I find rather interesting is somebody actually has a topic phrased, could this email have been a metaverse conference?
Mm-hmm.
Because you have all of these conference calls and everybody's like, could this conference call have been an email? The answer is not always.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could actually do a virtual room where everybody's sitting there in front of a virtual whiteboard in part of the metaverse, you can get a lot more done than you can through some other activities. So there are a number of different things that people are bringing in: security, ethics, of this kind of usefulness of the metaverse that will be discussed. Personally, I'm giving an overview as to what is the metaverse, what things have happened, some of the good, the bad, and the ugly of the last couple of years. Separately, I will be discussing some of the standard bodies and people who are trying to make sure all of this continues to work and has interoperability, kind of like we do with 3G, 4G, 5G. I
Mm-hmm.
can't have a device or a network that nobody else can connect to. I have to make sure everybody can connect open. So there's a whole bunch of standards and organizations that are trying to work to make that happen. So I'll be chatting about that. And one of the things that we're trying to do on this particular one is we will be doing an open panel where each of the speakers from the day will be on a panel, answer a couple of preformed questions, and then taking questions from the audience. Because, as you say, metaverse is very misunderstood and there's a lot of questions. So we're going to give people an hour to sit there and ask the experts, what do they want to know or what do they need to know about being involved with the metaverse?
Fantastic.
So the idea is to do a lot of that. I understand also on the future of work, there will also be a separate panel. I'm not quite sure the topic of that, but there will be a panel on Thursday about how the future of work and the metaverse come together. So I know
That's
John
I
and
can't
were
wait to
chatting.
attend. I'll be there, and can't wait to meet you again and see the content there. And before we wrap it up here, tell us what CloudOnyx does today, not in the metaverse necessarily, but for customers in today's world.
CloudOnyx is a API-based communications platform. So if you kind of think of Twilio as being generation 1 of the API communications, we like to think of ourselves as kind of generation 3, where we are enhancing services. One of our biggest partners right now is Twilio, where we are helping them connect their Twilio Flex to large call centers that want to be desk phones or mobile phones, not just using the web browser for communications.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a number of activities that way where we enable things. One of the strangest projects that we have right now is Nickelodeon is supposed to be coming out with something called a Nick Watch. So it's a smartwatch designed for kids with mobile apps for the caregivers, parents, and grandparents. And it's got a feature in it, Call Mom. And we are that feature inside the watch for the mobile SDK, enabling the voice services across this unusual IoT experience.
Oh, that's fantastic. I need that for my 24-year-old. She's a little too much partying going on. And Rich, just to wrap it up, people who are interested in IT Expo and these topics and themes, how can they get involved, either as an attendee or a speaker or a sponsor or otherwise?
Best thing is to just go to itexpo.com and just reach out to us from there. Or there's a chat window, there's an email. If someone wants to get a hold of me, they can use LinkedIn or they can use Twitter. I'm just at rtarani, TEHRANI. And yeah, those are the best ways. And we hope everyone signs up. Guys, while you're watching this, feel free to sign up right now so you don't forget, so we can send you an email to remind you and make your plans to come on down. Actually, I haven't booked my flight, which is a first for me. I'm usually booked a lot sooner. I haven't just finalized my coming back plans, and the rates are so good. The airfares are insanely low right now. Last time I looked, from New York anyway. So we're fortunate in that this is a peak time to go to Florida, and the rates are the lowest I've seen probably in years, if not ever, to go down to Florida in February.
That's fantastic. Well, as you know, I'm here now, and I'll be back for IT Expo. Thank you, gentlemen. If you're watching, thank you, John. Sorry for the hiccups, and we'll see you all at IT Expo. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.